Morning, good afternoon, good evening, Fabulites. This is Angela with another edition of Notes on the Newsfeed, where I read to you headlines from my newsfeed. These are just articles that I thought were interesting for whatever reason. Maybe because of the headline. Maybe after I read the headline, I saw something in the paragraph after if I read that. Maybe when I read the article, if I read the article, I thought that was interesting. Or maybe when I skimmed the article, something in it was interesting to me. But I will shoot all of the links over to Be Fabulous You on Twitter. And you can read them yourselves. And when I get a chance, I will shoot the link to my Twitter account into the description box. But it's just my thoughts. It's no deep analysis or anything like that. But I am going to jump in because you know what happened with the news feed? It just keep right on coming, right? July 11th, 1905. The Niagara Movement. I don't really know much about the Niagara Movement. Was that the predecessor to the NAACP? I don't know, but I think Du Bois had something to do with it. So maybe it's time for us to research and get a little bit more informed about the history of African American, or American Africans as I like to call them, in this country. Kwame Nkrumah led Ghana to independence. I don't know much about Kwame Nkrumah, but I have heard his name before. And he was the leader of Ghana, I guess, during independence. Now, Ghana got its independence from colonial rule in like the 1960s, because a lot of countries did, right? That's what I'm guessing. 1960 was just around the corner. Ain't that crazy to think that, and some people say we're still ruled by Europe, and I might be one of those people. July 10th, 1875. Happy birthday to Mary Jane McLeod, the first lady of the struggle. Have you heard of Mary McLeod Bethune? This is Mary Jane. Yay! The first lady of the struggle. I know she had something to do with Bethune-Cookman College. She had something to do with education, but they say she was the first lady of the struggle. And the first lady of the struggle, that's like a title like the Grande Dame. It's a title that people give you out of respect, but it's not like you can officially earn it or not earn it. It's just something that people, like when people say somebody is a diva, and when they mean it in the good way, it's not like a an official title. Is a diva might be in the opera world an official title, but I don't think so. Mississippi crash, 16 dead at Marine Corps plane incident. Wow. Now this was north of Jackson. I'm not really that familiar with that region, but I have spent some time in Jackson. 16 dead. Wow, rest in peace. I don't know what happened. Gangnam Style is no longer the most played video on YouTube. Who even knew that Gangnam Style was the most played video on YouTube? That's like, it's probably like 5-10 years old, right? Gangnam Style. Is that video? Okay. And music videos are very popular on YouTube. I had no idea. I've watched music videos on YouTube. Discovering the true G20 Africa Partnership Conference storyline. This is coming off of African Insider. Insider. I don't know what that is. I thought it was called African Insider. But anyway. Italian uproar over fascist-themed beach near Venice. It wasn't really that funny. It's kind of disturbing. I guess some people are just assholes, angry, bitter, mean-spirited. I don't know. I mean, is that like a valid way to be in the world? Like hating other people for no reason? I guess, is it valid to hate people for a reason? I don't know. Because I'm not like a big fan of hate. But certainly not hate for no reason. Spanish airline Iberia to drop pregnancy test demand. Now, they were tested when you applied for the job, and I guess they were taking your blood tests and everything. I don't know if people knew that they were being tested for pregnancy. Like when you drop pee, like when they do drug tests and stuff, they might be testing you for all kinds of stuff and you don't even know it. But they said we did hire some pregnant women, but some people just feel like it's out of line and it's inappropriate and it's some bull. I might be one of those people. White man disrespecting and harassing a black woman. I think this is a video someone took on a train in New York City, but I'm not positive. Revisit the 90s with a collection of AOL CDs. Do you remember AOL? Are you old enough to remember AOL? Remember when we used to get all those DVD, CD things in the mail from AOL? And people still have AOL accounts, but what happened to them? I guess you can like pioneer something and maybe not make the transition as things change. Because we rarely hear about AOL anymore, but it was funny to see the image of the different CDs and packaging and stuff. Mexico students. Pegasus spyware used on foreign investigators. I think these are people who are investigating. I think there were 43 students who were missing from an all-men's college, maybe within the last 3 years, you know, give or take. And people are still kind of trying to figure out what happened and hoping that some of them are alive. Was it 100? The 100, I think they call them, or the 43? I can't remember. But the people who have come to investigate, have their phones been infected with spyware? I might be conflating two stories. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on this. Belgium, read the article. Belgium face veil ban backed in European court ruling. I mean, these images of these women in these veils, and they're black, and all you can see is like the slit of their eyes. It is very... for me not being used to seeing it like on a regular basis, is very like, ooh. I remember when I was in India and all of the people with their cloth and women with their cloth, and they were just wrapping, and it was so graceful, and it was unwrapping and wrapping and flowing all around, and just, it was so beautiful. I wasn't used to seeing that either. So maybe you come to appreciate stuff when you're around it more. Like maybe if I were around a lot of women who are covered, I might, you know, because, you know, black women, we cover our hair all the time. I'm used to that kind of covering. But I mean, when you can only see the slit of somebody's eyes, it's like, wow, it's kind of intense to me. Maybe to them, they're just used to it. But anyway, why is the European court back Belgium and banning? They don't want them to wear the veils, and they've banned it. In Belgium, I guess, and then the European court agreed. Young black Texan beaten to death in Greece. 6 Serbians arrested. Now this came across, I saw this about 2 or 3 days ago, and I noticed yesterday when I did notes on the newsfeed, for some reason I skipped that article, but this is an update. So I think he was an HBCU graduate student or something, young man. He was definitely not 25. I want to say he was 22, 21, something like in there. That's what I'm thinking. And he was in like the Greek Isles. And I have heard that the Greek Isles are beautiful, but it's certainly not beautiful to go someplace and have someone beat you to death. I mean, I don't know what happened. 6 Serbians arrested? What's the story there? I mean, what's really going on? What's good, Greece? Study finds cities rely more on fines for revenue when they have more black residents. And it became increasingly clear that in a lot of places where you have these, there'll be these concentrations of poor people, and they be ticketing people for everything, and there's so many people who had their license suspended, and you go from having 1 ticket for $100 and you barely trying to make groceries. That's what they say down south. I'm going to make groceries. I'm like, how you gonna make groceries? I'm gonna go to Wally World and get them. I'm like, you make it? And I'm like, oh, shopping for groceries. But anyway, people are barely making groceries, and then you throw a $100 fine on top of that, and then they add. It's like, it's a mess. It's like extortion. It's like back in my image of, you know, back in the days in Europe where they had the landlords, and then they had the serfs or whatever, and they were just constantly taxing them, and they didn't care if they died at, you know, 25 or 30. They were young. They were, you know, in bad health, in bad shape, starving to death. But they were taxing the mess out of them so that they could go to court and live a certain way and give money to the king so that he could fight wars and live a certain way. And meanwhile, the people were just being exploited terribly and harassed and beaten around it. That's what it's like to be black in this country. I mean, well, they've been exploiting us. They've been exploiting our bodies. I guess they just see us as like human resources, as human sources of income and money. I'm just rambling because I don't have coherent thoughts about this, because it just, I just haven't taken time to get coherent about it. But I have a really bad feeling about it, and it gets on my nerves and it pisses me off. 3 phrases that'll stop a big talker from taking over conversation. I'd hit the one click through, but you have to read the whole article. What are the 3 magic phrases? It's always good to have good social skills. Teen wakes to bear crunching head. He's sleeping. I guess he had a camp. I just saw a picture. He had a couple of red marks here, like just 2 or 3. He didn't look like a bear had been chewing on his head. So I don't know how he got out of the situation. I don't know how he got into the situation. Was the bear in his house? Was he out camping in the wilderness? Is that normal bear behavior to be chewing on people's heads? I mean, that sounds kind of intense, and it sounds like potentially deadly, right? But anyway, he seemed to be up and about, walking and talking. And he said, I guess the crunching sound was my skull getting cracked. Chicago plans to withhold high school diplomas for those without college, job, or military plans. So basically, you have to have a plan in order to graduate, like an individual, like not IEP, not an individual education plan, but like maybe an individual post-graduation plan. And you say, oh, I'm going to enlist in the military, the Navy. This is my paperwork, I guess. Or, oh, I have a job here. Here's the letter from my employer. Or, oh, I've applied to college and I've been accepted. I mean, do you have to have proof of whatever you say in the plan? Or do you just have to say it in the plan? And I just kind of felt like, I guess I zoomed in on the military because I feel like there are so many people who maybe don't join the military because they're just patriotic and want to fight for their country, but join the military because they feel that their options are limited, and that's a way to have an income. And I guess, well, one thing about this administration, Zero's administration, they've been investing heavily in military infrastructure. So, you know, I kind of felt like that's trying to filter certain people into that system. But, you know, I don't know. I didn't really. And in Chicago, I'm very suspicious of Chicago. I'm very suspicious of Chicago. Okay, that took some of the bright sun off. Earlene Brown, most unheralded U.S. athlete of all time. I don't know how much more I have to go, but I'm going to take a pause here. Thank you so much for clicking on the video and sticking around to the end, liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing, being here, being you. Welcome, welcome back. Have a wonderful, fabulous until I see you next. I am about to do 2 reviews. Divas, Daytime Divas, which I love, and Basketball Wives. So we'll get some more notes on the news feed in between there. And in the meantime, you know what you got to do, right? Be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous, you, baby. Bye.